Don't let it go to your head.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, we are recording now, so if you're worried about saying something for posterity, don't say it now.
Well, folks, we do have an abbreviated agenda. We're just going to handle the essentials as required by the Book of Discipline, and those include a review of pastoral compensation for the coming year, taking a look at lay leadership nominations for 2021, continuing in certification any lay speakers or lay servants you may have, and we'll finish up by reviewing the membership report and making any updates to the membership roles that require our attention. And at the end, if you have questions for me, I'd be glad to try to answer them. You may have questions about the way the United Methodist Church in Michigan is addressing COVID-19, questions about things happening on the district, the Michigan Annual Conference, or even the general connection of the United Methodist Church. And if so, I'll try to answer those at the end. But for right now, we'll turn our attention to pastoral compensation. And we'll turn to our SBRC chair to offer that for our consideration.
I would like to submit I think it's in form for everyone. It was, Cal, you passed that out to everybody, I believe. And we have, we as an SBRC have submitted this compensation for Cal for the next year, and we have adopted that as a committee. So we would like to ask that you receive that and carry, if I say that, along for next year.
And so that dollar amount, can you just share that? Probably people have that in front of them, but just for the record, if you could. Cal, put it screen
It
for
should, Cal, you correct me if I'm not, whoops.
I got it right in front of you. So
Oh, you're putting it on there, good. Okay, so 44, if you look in the salary for the church one, you will see 44 right there, right? He's not, excuse me, 44, 9, I have to look at my figures, 937. Am I saying that right? Yes. And that should be the compensation for the coming year.
Okay, that salary amount is properly before you. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Cal.
Cal was going to check in on his time that would be given to him for salary. And I think, has that gone from 7 to 10, or is that still at 7 years?
For right now, it's still at 7. I have talked with Westpath, and Westpath has no records from me being a pastor in Oklahoma. And so they turfed me to Oklahoma. And so I've been in contact with the director of benefits and at the Oklahoma Annual Conference, and I'm still waiting for a lot of that to get settled out. The difference between 10 years of service and 7 years of service for this year was about $1,400. And so I said, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I just got a raise. I'm really happy at $44,937. And everybody kind of went, yeah, that's fine. And if when all this gets worked out and I can prove it and all that kind of stuff, then we can revisit the 10 years. I mean, because the church can set the salary, Dwayne, right? At anything over minimum, right? I mean, it's
that's correct. The church has the freedom to do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I'm happy where we are. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I know $1,400 isn't like going to make or break the bank, but I don't know. That's the way I like to be. So.
But I think that because the salary is set up for one whole year, if this comes up within that year, I think we should be able to open it up and correct that at any time. How do we work that in? If everybody is in agreement of that.
You could simply do what we did when we revised Pastor Kell's salary after he went through the board of ordained ministry process.
Yes,
So we just do a brief church conference to correct that salary. And we could even he could even do that by Zoom. And
That's what we did last time.
you can zoom it right through.
We're
So,
hoping it doesn't have to happen, but that it can.
yeah.
Okay,
And like I said,
Thank
I'm not
you.
real worried about it. I mean, the things that change are so minor. It's like $30 in pension, and it really is just not a lot. So, and it's not even the pension, I don't think, that really changes. It's like what I give towards my own retirement. And so if it was a major change, I'd maybe push forward a little bit more, but it really is a small amount. So
it might also change your personal contribution to health insurance.
not till 50,000. So it's in $10,000 increments that I thought, at least that's what the form said, is it not?
Good question. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that my understanding is it's in $10,000 increments, so I'm good till 50. So
Okay.
thank you
enough.
for answering that.
Well, that salary amount, again, in the amount of $44,937 is properly before you. If you would support that, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? You've given your support. We also need to vote on the household furnishing allowance. That's the withholding category for federal income tax purposes, not in addition to salary. Can you present that amount? I believe that's line 13.
Mm-hmm.
it's 5,500, Hollis.
55. I need to put my, I turned off my light. Just a moment.
5,500. Yeah.
I've
So,
got it. Yeah.
I got it in front of you too on the screen there. It's line
Okay,
13
okay.
there.
Okay,
So,
yes.
Kel, excuse me. Kel, did you say you sent this out to everybody? Because I don't think I ever saw this.
really?
Well, yeah,
It-
did it come with the Zoom meeting?
It came with
thing?
the Zoom
Yes.
link. Yeah.
Oh, I probably just missed it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll have
If
to
you
look
if you
later.
need it, I can send it to you.
Okay.
My salary is not a secret to anybody. So
No.
No, I like to see all the other things on there.
yeah.
It's so
Okay.
tiny on my iPad.
Yeah, it's an Excel document. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do about this?
You just vote yes, and what the household furnishings allowance is it allows me to set aside a certain portion of my salary that is tax free for the next year, and so as long as I keep records of it, I can spend up to $5,500 tax free, keeping the parsonage going. It's like if I buy gas for the lawnmower, if I, like right now I'm in the middle of putting up a fence in the backyard, and it's just when I spend money, if it's for the parsonage, then I can get that tax free. So and 5,500 is just what I usually set on. If I was a better record keeper, I could do more than that, but I'm not, and I'm lazy, so I do 5,500. So that's the amount that I've always done, because I can always easily prove it. So
Do we need a motion or?
yeah, Hollis needs to present it.
Okay,
Oh.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept 5,500 as an amount to be saved for the residential furnishings and allowance as directed by the SPRC.
I'll make that motion.
So that is properly before you. If you would give your approval for that household furnishing allowance, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You've given your approval. We're going to shift our attention next to the lay leadership nominations for 2021. And Pastor Kel, do you have that for us?
Yes, let me bring it up real quick. I also have a couple of additions that haven't been on here. Just a second. Roster of officers. Okay, so we've been working real hard as a nominations committee. The Board of Trustees will elect their own president here soon, and so we haven't been meeting a whole lot because of COVID. For Finance Committee Chairperson, Debbie Schmidt has stepped up, and so she's going to serve in that position. And you can see there are several other additions. Kathy Schmidt is going to be our lay leader. We have several additions to the Board of Trustees, including Lori Boltice and Brian Burma. We have a couple of people that are joining the Committee on Lay Leadership, Judy Lamport and Kathy Rupert. SPRC, we had to remove Matt Oselka because I learned this year that two people that are related can't serve on the SPRC together. And so thank you, Kathy, for pointing that out. And then our Finance Committee will fill out as we find some of these other positions. And as you guys saw this last week and a couple weeks ago, I mean, the two main positions we still have open are Church Council Chair and a Treasurer that we are looking for. And so that those are the big ones that we're looking at before the end of the year, filling out. If we can't find a treasurer before the end of the year, we're looking at hiring out someone to do payroll and take over some of the bookkeeping responsibilities. But hopefully, as we continue to search and look, we'll be able to find some people that are stepping into that. A couple of things that also got deleted from here, and I don't know how, would be Mike Kiefer on the church council for cafe director, and then Debbie Schmidt is on the church council in a couple of ways, but another way is as the director of the Bridge the Gap program. So we made that a church council position last year, and they're not on this one, which is the one that you sent out, but they will be corrected in the church office and then sent on. So this is the document that is before you with those additions and edits. But that's what we got so far.
So this slate of leadership is properly before you for approval. I'd suggest we also approve this, and along with the approval, grant authorization to the church council to fill vacancies as they exist at the end of this charge conference to the beginning of next year's church conference. So if you would approve this slate of lay leadership along with granting that authorization to fill vacancies, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't have to do, okay. We don't have to
A motion.
do a motion for these.
No, because it comes from a standing committee of the church
Okay.
as the item of business in our charge conference does. So according to Robert's rules, it comes from a standing committee. We don't need to go through the motions of moving and seconding unless it's a new item of business that's raised from the floor.
Thank you.
So any opposed? Sounds like you've given your approval. And thanks to all those who are stepping up to serve Waters Edge Church. Pastor Kel, am I right? You don't have lay servants or lay speakers at this time?
You are correct.
Okay. Well, we'll go next to the membership report for 2020.
Oh,
Hold on. I'm bringing it up. It's a PDF, so it's taking a little bit. Come on. And Tara, you get to present this one.
I do? Why?
Because you're the membership secretary. So let's see here. All right.
Okay. So at the close of last year, we were at 182 people. We had 4 that we removed by death. That took place primarily because of the phone calls that we made to our membership and finding out that there were a couple that passed that we didn't know about. And then I think a couple that passed that we had been told about. So that brought our membership down to 178. With COVID, it's been really quiet. So we haven't had any baptisms, any additions to that at all. We do have one inactive member that we made inactive at last year's church conference, which is Mary Jane Schlechter, and she asked to stay in that position. And then we have our average worship attendance, which I'm sure for every church looks a little bit different this year. Trying to calculate that was difficult. Cal was working on that a lot. So this includes, as far as we can tell, averages of online worship and the times we did have in services and the times that we were able to have classes for children's ministry and kind of youth ministry as well. So we averaged 95 in our morning worship. That's the 2 services combined. Church school, which would be our, I think, preschool through 5th grade, right, Cal? Okay, would be 20 children. And then
and George's Sunday Bible study.
that's right. And then that also includes Georgia's Bible study that happens on Sunday mornings, because church school is just not a great term, Dwayne, anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's hard to figure. When I read that, I don't think about those other Bible studies, but that's the place that they would get included. So. And then 2 in our middle school youth program that we started this year that were consistent and created that average. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. So pretty straightforward this year.
The worship attendance is really weird because of we've changed the way we've done online worship 4 or 5 times since COVID started. And so, and we just count how many like people are logged in. And right now, a lot of those are going to be like households. Like, so if you have like, let's say, Kathy and Frank are watching at home together, that's really 2 people watching, but only 1 counts because it's one device. So, so
Screens rather than people.
You're right. So, and then, but we also count Facebook views, which anybody that scrolls past, as long as they hang out there for 3 seconds, that's a Facebook view. And so, so it skews all over the place, but we're trying to be consistent with the way that we count. And I don't know any better way to do it.
I think that's key, the consistency. As long as you use the same methodology to continue to keep track of people, I think that gives you at least results that are comparable to something.
And I do think, I don't remember exactly what it was, Cal, maybe you do. This number was lower than years past, but even with the funky counting and the not knowing how many were in households, I think we previously were at like 102 or something, weren't we? Like, it's not like we've lost a lot of people, it doesn't seem, through this process.
Yeah,
So-
and as I was looking at like monthly averages, it was really interesting because I mean, there were some months that we were like way above previous years because we had a skyrocketing of online people that are watching. And then there's been a couple of months that have just been abysmal. I think in August we had like an average of 20 because our Facebook server was down, and so we weren't live, and so we were only using our church online statistics, and those church online statistics only count individual users. And so like I know like that would be 20 households, and so but at the same time, like when you're doing your average, it's like, well,
Mhm.
this is how we count this. And
Yeah,
so
like Hab Rectors, I know they would watch all 4 of them. And my friends in Ohio watch all 4 of them. And Kel's family is 5 and my family's 4, but it counts as 1.
so
So just keep that in mind as we're looking at numbers comparatively to other years.
Well, I don't think compare 2020 to anything.
No,
Uh,
are our expenses going to count into the ministry shares, you know, formula for the next few years? Because that'll be fantastic.
They probably will, actually. I mean, they do this 3-year rolling average to compute conference ministry shares these days. So they probably will continue that pattern.
So that'll be interesting.
That would be interesting, as will some other developments.
So
Well-
any questions about this report?
I do. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
But we did all this calling and gave information about what was happening. Are we looking into possibly checking back with these people to see if they really want to stay as membership in our church? Or do we just let that go and wait for them to tell us? In the calls.
3 years ago, my first church conference at Water's Edge, I did a lot of work and I brought forth a whole list of names. And on that list was people who hadn't been to church in 5 years or more, hadn't given to church in 5 years or more. You know, it's like, it was basically the list of people that don't participate in the life of the church. And I brought it because there's a process for removing people as members. And like the church kind of decided that at that church conference that they did not want to do that, because you never know when someone passes away, they might, you know, we might be someone's church, even though they don't say, you know, or come or really participate, but they'll tell someone, oh yeah, I go to Water's Edge. And so and that was voted on by everybody at that time. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but at the same time, that, you know, I am not the church is you guys. And so it's all of us together, and that's, and so I guess we've kind of shied away from, you know, when we talk to someone and they tell us, hey, I don't go to that church anymore. We ask the question and say, hey, well, do you want us to remove you from the rolls? Where can we transfer, you know, your membership to? And we've done that updating as much as we've talked with people, but I guess there hasn't been a whole lot of it. I mean, I can think of a handful that we've done that with over the last 3 years. But I don't know. Are you suggesting we try to take it a step further?
No, I'm just wondering if people, you know, mentioned that they still wanted to stay on the rolls or not.
Mary Jane
I mean-
Schlecht is the only one that has really contacted the church, and she wrote a letter and like with a check and was like, I love this church, but I'm living in Lansing now, and I can't fulfill my responsibilities as a member, and so please, sadly, will you remove me from the rolls? And I read her letter, and so I called her and I said, hey, we're willing to leave, like, put you on as an inactive member, and you can stay that way forever if you want. And she went, oh, that would be so good. And so, like, that's the only person that I've really got. Like, everybody else, if they call and say, like, hey, I'm going to so and so church, if they go, and then I tell them, like, okay, well, do you want me to transfer your membership? Sure. And then we'll call their office and give them the information that we have. So
Me,
that's the process.
I mean, me personally, just to put my opinion out there, I don't think it's our responsibility to recontact them or ask that question. To me, that's something that they should come to the church with. I think we need to spend our time now contacting the constituent members that still haven't been contacted, and contact the people that are coming and ask them, spend our time with the people that are attending the church, I guess is what I'm trying to say, at least at this time.
I would agree 100%.
And statistically, people who studied retention of membership say that once a person has left for a significant amount of time, there is virtually nothing that can be done to bring them back into the fellowship of the church. Churches would be far better off investing their time, as you say, caring for the members who are there, or trying to reach out to new people. They'd have better results rather than trying to bring back the folks who have separated from the church. Usually they leave for a reason, and it's a good reason, and it's hard to bring somebody back into attendance after they've left.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it is more with their responsibility than ours, in the sense that I think people like to be attached to a church regardless, even if they're not
Did you
going.
use both boxes of noodles?
So I would discourage, if I say trying to make them make a decision. I think it's better to leave it.
I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not saying we should take people off the list. I'm just wondering if people mentioned through this calling whether they wanted to be taken off the list, or if they just, took the call and that was it. But I have no concern about the fact that people stay on as members and don't support the church.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else around the topic of membership or the membership report? If you would receive this membership report along with the name on the first year inactive list, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? You've given your approval.
Are we doing it right, Dwayne, where we're leaving Mary Jane as a first year inactive member? I mean, I know, like, the process is after 2 years, you can remove them.
Correct.
But we don't want to remove her. We just want to keep her inactive. So
that's perfectly all right.
okay.
And actually, what you could do, you could just include her in membership from here on. I mean, she's a member. You could call her an affiliate member if you wanted to, but in many cases, those persons who live in other communities still contribute to the church, still support the church through their prayers and their gifts, even though their service and presence may be absent. So they're still participating in the ways that they're able. So you could just move her back to the membership category if you wanted.
Okay.
Any other business that needs to come before the charge conference this evening? If not, do you have questions for me? You might have questions about the United Methodist Church in Michigan and the way it's handled COVID, or questions about the district, the Michigan Annual Conference, or the general connection of the United Methodist Church. You have any questions or concerns?
How many people are staying open right now?
Very few. I don't have a census, but what I have been hearing is either because of the most recent uptick in COVID cases, or the bishop's latest guidelines related to Advent and Christmas Eve services, or the fact that churches have experienced COVID exposure in their worshiping congregations. Many churches are stepping away from in-person worship. My sense is that more are online than in person right now.
Are there any churches that are not in person and not online right now? And I'm thinking right now specifically of our district. And the reason why I say that is I've offered it to the churches around us, that they could come and record at Water's Edge if they wanted to. And if there were other churches within driving distance, I realize that we're the farthest away from many places, but that's something that, I mean, we have the technology, we have the equipment, and they could come, they could record, and I could give them a link that they could just download it and upload it to their YouTube or Facebook or whatever they wanted to. And so, but do you know of any, I guess now it's like, okay, do you know of any churches that could really use that? So
the ones I know of that are neither online or in person are churches that are quite small, but they've also done some adaptations. What some of them are doing are sending out written messages every week to congregants, because what they've also found is in some places people don't have bandwidth on or internet in order to stream services. So they just thought probably our efforts to do that would be misplaced because people couldn't stream it anyway. So they're going back to the future and keeping in touch through written communication and phone calls. Some churches are doing tele sermons where you dial in on your landline or your cell phone to get the message. So people have been creative, but I appreciate that offer. And we may hear of some more churches that are going to move toward trying to do something online. And if so, I'll send them your way. If only to get a glimpse at what they could do. That could be very helpful to churches that are very limited or don't know even how to start.
Or even for Christmas is coming up, and
yeah,
my opinion is, hey, you want to do something, and if you're doing something, if you want to put something out there, we're willing to help. So
that's great. I will communicate that. You want to write that up and we'll put it in the district newsletter?
Sure.
Okay. That'll be a good way to get the word out to people who actually read the district newsletter anyway.
There's dozens of us, dozens.
Yeah. Yeah. Never mind. Any other questions you folks have this evening?
No.
Well, if not, thanks again for being here. And until we meet next time, hopefully face to face and not screen to screen, God's peace to you and stay grounded in grace. Have a great Thanksgiving, whatever form that may take. Take some time to express your gratitude. I know that's difficult in this season, but it has spiritual impact. Giving thanks has a deep spiritual impact, and I hope you'll be able to find some ways to express that in this season of Thanksgiving. Thanks again for being here, and thanks most especially for being the church at Water's Edge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.